to the UK editor for ITV News, Paul Brand, who is at the very heart of this story about Partygate. Very good morning to you, Paul. This is a sort of one of those critical days, isn't it? Because this is when Sue Gray, the mythical Sue Gray, eventually presents her report. But that has been rather overtaken now by an actual police criminal investigation.
Yeah, morning, Susanna. Is it the day? I mean, I just don't know this morning, because the latest I've heard in the past few minutes is that Downing Street still haven't received Sue Gray's report, and there's been huge confusion the past 24 hours, really, ever since the police announced that they were investigating about the exact timing of her report. We had thought it was going to Downing Street last night. They didn't receive it. This morning, all right, it's only just after 8. They still haven't got it. It could still come out this afternoon. That may well be the timing, or it could slip into tomorrow. Others are reporting this morning it could be next week. So there really is great uncertainty, because Downing Street ultimately don't know when she's going to hand it over. Only Sue Gray really this morning is in control of this timing.
Yeah, Paul, I mean, we know, I mean, I suppose, you know, the very fact that now the police are involved, you get the impression we know that this report is going to be quite damning. But at the same time, and here's the strange thing, is that there seems to be still a lot of support for Boris Johnson, and he seems to be very sort of sticking to, well, carry on and carry on with the job. There seems to be no hint at all of any resignation coming whatsoever.
No, and look, the police investigation yesterday was huge. I mean, it's really, really significant for a sitting Prime Minister to be facing a live police investigation. We cannot understate the importance of that. But actually, Sue Gray is almost like the internal police here. She's the chief investigating officer looking at the conduct of the Prime Minister, of his civil servants, of his advisors, and the punishment that comes with her report could be far more severe than just a police fine. Ultimately, it could cost the Prime Minister his career, but it'll be up to Conservative MPs to decide what the sanctions should be. Do they want him to go when they see the full contents of this report? And I think, of course, the Prime Minister is going to resist calls to resign until he himself has seen the content of the report and he himself knows how his MPs are responding to it. But there is a huge operation behind the scenes by his supporters to try and rally the troops this morning, to try and steer Conservative MPs away from calling for his resignation. Until we see the content of that report, we just don't know how it's going to go down. But my sources are telling me it's not looking good.
Paul, it's a really interesting change in tone, because you were the journalist who broke the story of that mock press conference when Allegra Stratton stood at the podium and sort of giggled about allegations of parties going on at Downing Street. She had to resign for laughingly brushing away those accusations. The Prime Minister subsequently stood up in the House of Commons and said he was as appalled as everybody else by the fact that people had been laughing about the breaching of the law at a time when everybody else was making massive sacrifice. Today, we have backbench MPs saying, it's fine, it was just a birthday cake at a work event. He was ambushed by a cake. They now seem to be laughingly brushing off these allegations.
Yeah, and I think what's been interesting in the past few days is that Downing Street and, as you say, some Conservative MPs have been trying to dismiss particularly the birthday party that we reported earlier this week as, you know, just a bit of cake. But it's the principle of it, I think, at the heart of all this. It's the fact that other people couldn't do what the Prime Minister was doing that day. We all would have loved 10 minutes with a birthday cake and some people that we really like and love on our birthdays during lockdown. And for some people, they were the last birthdays, you know, sadly, that they had. And so it is a matter of principle here, which sometimes I think isn't necessarily reflected in the story. And you mentioned Allegra Stratton, and one of the big fears around the report among the civil servants I talked to and the advisors I talked to is whether Sue Gray would have pushed a lot of the blame onto them, which would have made it easy for the Prime Minister to sort of step back and say, OK, look, my staff have kind of got a bit out of hand here. I need to get a handle on all of this. I get that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to clean up Downing Street. I'm going to sack a load of people, but I'm going to stay. Actually, as time's gone on, I don't think that is what Sue Gray is going to conclude. We've got to wait to see what the report says. I don't want to preempt it too much because I'll probably end up being wrong. But my sources tell me that she's not going to go down that route of blaming junior staff. The Prime Minister is going to come in for some criticism here, though it will largely be a factual report that just lays out the facts rather than drawing any conclusions about what should happen to him.
And regarding the police investigation, Paul, I mean, do you think it could drag out? Could we be in this for the next few months now, or do you think we'll get a quick solution to this and a quick result from the police?
Well, when I was talking to the police yesterday, it's clear to me that what they want to look at here is things like emails and phone messages and CCTV and sort of timings of when people were going in and out of Downing Street. You know, were staff emerging at 3 a.m, which looks a little bit suspicious and suggests that maybe they've been to a party. And actually, a lot of that work has already been done by Sue Gray, and we know that she shared the findings of her report with the Metropolitan Police. That's why they decided to investigate. So you'd think that a lot of the legwork has been done. And, you know, at the end of the day, this isn't going to go to trial. It's not going to be a court case. It's a relatively simple proposition here. Did the Prime Minister, did his staff have a party? Should they be fined? So you'd imagine that this could conclude relatively quickly. I would suspect it will be weeks rather than months.
OK.
All right, Paul, thank you very much indeed for being with us and for your reporting on this matter.